Hey everyone, it's Dylan with Oscillator, and today I'm going to show you 10 key commands to 10x your tracks. Let's get right into it. Welcome to Oscillator. I make tutorials about music production, mixing, sound design, creativity, and if that's something that you're into, you may want to consider subscribing to my channel. If not, I'm just glad you're here watching. Let's get into the tutorial. Now you may be wondering, how can I prove that these 10 key commands will 10x your music production? To be honest, I can't prove it. I'm not a mathematician, but my friend Matt is, so why don't we ask him?
The math checks out.
See? In all seriousness though, I really do believe that mastering these key commands will seriously improve your music production. And here's why. The key to expressing yourself musically is to minimize the amount of obstacles between the creative vision that you have and the finished product. So if you can speed up these little tasks that you have to do over and over again when you're producing music, it reduces the time needed to get your idea down on paper. And that way you can stay in the flow and really express yourself musically. To me, that's so important. Number one, Command-R. Command-R will rename things, so either the track or an audio or MIDI region. What you don't want to have is a bunch of unnamed audio files and MIDI regions that just say audio 13 or MIDI 22. That's going to be a mess. You may think that you know what you're doing now, but when you go to mix it later on, it's really important to have everything named properly. Click on the header of any audio track, hit Command-R, and it will highlight it, and you can name it like this. You can also click on MIDI regions and rename them, or audio regions and rename those too. You can rename regions in addition to the tracks. This is helpful if you want to have different names for different parts on the same track. Let me show you one little quick tip here too. You can preserve the number at the front of the track by using the pound sign, and I always do this. So whatever you name the track, make sure it starts with the pound sign and then you put the name after it. That adds the number in the beginning. And if you move this, it updates the number automatically. So now this says number 10. And if I move it up one more, then it says number 9. This is super helpful when you later want to organize your tracks. All right, so that's number one, Command-R to rename your tracks and regions. Number two, Command-E. Command-E will cut a region anywhere that your cursor is located. This may seem like a small one, but it's really, really important because it just makes moving regions around way faster. So if I just want to have this first bar of this track to copy and paste, I can just hit Command-E and then grab it with Option and click and drag it around. And I've just created a slice there. You can also go in and select an area, hit Command-E, and it will create cuts on both sides. So that's really helpful as well. And like if you want to just take a little piece of this, copy and paste it to another track, Command-E is a really helpful way to do that. So that's number two. Command-E will trim your audio regions. Number three is Command-J. Command-J will consolidate or join multiple regions together, either audio or MIDI. Take a look here at my clap 1 track. As you can see, I have these little audio regions. These are one-shot samples that I just copied and pasted over, right? This gets pretty messy when you're trying to organize your song later on because you have to make sure that if you're selecting this whole region that you don't miss a clap. It's kind of a mess. So we can consolidate these audio regions together by using Command-J. So I can just select this whole section and hit Command-J, and this will create a single audio region with all of these one-shot samples inside it like this. Now, this is way easier to move around or to copy and paste throughout my project. The cool thing too is that you can do this with multiple tracks and it will consolidate each track individually. So I can just hit Command-J like this, even though I have multiple tracks selected, and it will consolidate each of them within their own track like that. And that's super helpful to keep your tracks organized. If you can keep stuff organized quickly in the moment, you're already winning. So remember that one, Command-J. Next up, we've got Cmd-D. Cmd-D stands for duplicate. And this is a simple one too, but it's really, really powerful in Ableton, especially because you can duplicate regions and silence. What do I mean by that? Let's say I have this little one shot at the beginning of this section here, and I want to duplicate this. I can select the one shot sample and all of the empty space after it, hit Command-D, and it will duplicate the actual audio sample as well as the empty space. So it's not going to create another duplicate of this right next to it. It's going to duplicate all of that empty space as well, which is what I want. I want it to start at the beginning of every 8 bars. So if I select that whole area, hit Cmd-D, it will duplicate it over. Or you can also vertically duplicate things. Cmd-D on a track header will create a duplicate of the track, including the name of the track and also all of the MIDI or audio regions and all of the plugins or instruments that are on that track. So that's Cmd-D for duplicate. Okay, number 5. I'm sort of cheating a little bit with number 5 because it's actually 4 key commands in one, but they're all related to the same function. So I just threw them all together as one. And these are H for height, W for width, and the left and right arrow keys. These all have to do with reshaping and resizing the user interface so that you can very quickly see what's going on in your project. Let me show you what I mean. So if you're working on your song and all of these are like different heights, right? You've zoomed in and zoomed out of different tracks and they're all different heights because you're working on stuff and you're moving around, you're editing and you can't really see anything, right? This is a mess. I don't want to look at it like this. I can reset the height of all my tracks by just hitting the letter H on the keyboard. And just like that, it will reset the height of every single track to a uniform height. This is super, super helpful because you don't want to be going in here and clicking and dragging on the header to try to resize every single track like this. That's a major nightmare. You just want to hit the letter H, reset everything to a uniform height that's reasonable, and then you can move on from there. So that will save you a ton of time, and we like that. Similarly, we can use the letter W to reset the width of the project so that we can see the entire horizontal axis of our project. This is really important to sort of get an overview of the whole structure of your song. So H for height, W for width. And related to these are the left and the right arrow keys. So this is something really cool that I discovered somewhat recently. If you select all of your tracks by clicking on the track headers, I just shift selected all of them, or you can hit Command-A. The left arrow key will reset the height of all the tracks to just the name like this. And this is kind of cool because this will help me determine kind of the overall structure that's going on without being distracted by what's going on inside each of the regions. You can just tell, okay, there's a lot going on in this section and less going on in this section. Okay, I'm getting like an overall view of the whole project like that. And then the right arrow key will reset the heights back to a little bit bigger of a height. And in this view, you can see what's going on inside the audio and the MIDI regions. Okay, and I'm cheating again with number 6 because there are 3 key commands in here, but they're all sort of related again. These are for creating new tracks. So first of all, we have Cmd-T. Cmd-T will create a new audio track and it will create it below whichever track that you have selected. A thing I love about Ableton is that it gives it a new color.
I color code all my info.
So important. Shift-Cmd-T creates a new MIDI track. Opt-Cmd-T creates a new return track. This is a lot faster than using your mouse to go up to the create menu and dropping down into the create new tracks. All right, moving right along, we're on number 7 now. Number 7 is Ctrl-L. Ctrl-L creates a loop based on the selected area inside the arrangement window. What do I mean by that? If I click on this MIDI region and hit Ctrl-L, you can see at the top now we have this gray bar. This is a loop that has now been created based on the length of this MIDI region. You can also select a marquee somewhere in the arrangement window and hit Command-L, and it will create a loop based on that length that you just drew in. So this is a really, really easy way to create loops. If you want to listen to this section of your song, you can just click on that MIDI region, or you can draw it across like this, hit Command-L, and now you've created a loop. And then Command-L will turn that loop on and off as well, so you can toggle the loop that way. Number 8 is related to number 7, but it's so important that I thought I would put it in its own category. Number 8 is a really, really cool technique that I highly encourage you to use. That's Shift-Command-L. What Shift-Command-L does is it selects every track in your project, but only in the area determined by the loop. What's cool about this is you can then copy and paste this by hitting Command-D. You can duplicate every single track inside that loop area and move it over. That's extremely helpful because it's really hard when you've got 100 tracks to like click and drag and try to go through and make sure you have every part of this section that you want to copy over. It's much easier to create the loop with Command-L and then use Shift-Command-L to select every track in your project, but only within the borders of that loop. That's Shift-Command-L. Okay, number 9 is Opt-Cmd-F, and Opt-Cmd-F is going to change your life. This key command saves you so much time, and I think I accidentally discovered it one time, just like smashing keys on my keyboard, and I was like, what did I just do? So let me tell you, Opt-Cmd-F will create uniform fades on multiple audio tracks at once. And the reason this is so important is if you're editing vocal takes with like a bunch of takes, like background vocals or a choir or something, that you've got all these stacks of vocals. If you're gonna go through and create fades individually on each track by clicking the little fade square and moving it over, it's gonna take you forever and you're never gonna finish your song. And that's how I always did it, because I thought that's how it's done. But Opt-Cmd-F will create multiple uniform fades across multiple tracks with one stroke. All you have to do is create a marquee from the outside of the track into the track like this, hit Opt-Cmd-F, and it will create that fade from the edge of the audio file to the beginning of where your marquee was. This works at the beginning or as crossfades as well. I want to get a tattoo of Opt-Cmd-F because I love this key command so much. Now we're on to number 10, possibly the most important key command. I said that it might surprise you. And this key command is question mark. The question mark shows and hides the info view at the bottom left corner of the interface. The info view will update depending on where your mouse is hovered. So if I hover over here at the clip view, the info view header changes to clip view, and it gives me a little bit of information about the clip view, and it will also tell me some key commands that I can use inside the clip view. If I hover over to a clip waveform, you can see it says now clip waveform, and it gives me more key commands. In one sense, this is the most important key command that you can use because this will constantly teach you as you're moving through the software and as you're learning more, and it will help remind you of what you can do in each area of the interface. It's like having an expert just right there with you saying, hey, don't forget, this is what this does. This is how you do this. This is a key command for this. And I found that to be super helpful. Even though I've been using Ableton for a long time, I still learn things constantly. If I pop open this info view and I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Let's try that out. So I highly encourage you to just see, am I missing something here? Is there a capability that I have that I didn't know that I had? Or if you wonder, like, what is this button anyway? You can have the info view open and you can see that it will tell you, this is the punch in switch. And so instead of like opening the manual or emailing me, although feel free to email me anytime, just have the info view open and it will tell you what that button is and what it does. Super, super important. All right, let's go ahead and recap all these key commands. But first, if you found any value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, because that's how people know that this was a helpful video. So number 1, Command-R. Command-R will rename both tracks and regions. And remember to use the # to preserve the number at the beginning of the track. Number 2 is Command-E, which will cut a audio or MIDI region, or you can create cuts on 2 sides by selecting an area and then hitting Command-E. Number 3, Command-J consolidates audio or MIDI regions, including silence between those audio or MIDI regions, which is really helpful. Number 4 is Command-D, which duplicates either regions or audio or MIDI tracks. Number 5 is that group of key commands we use to resize the workflow. So H for height, W for width, and then the left arrow key collapses all tracks into just the headers, and the right arrow key expands them back again to the normal height. Number 6 was another group of key commands we used to create new tracks. So Option-T creates an audio track, Shift-Option-T creates a new MIDI track, Command-Option-T creates a new return track. Memorize those so that you don't have to go up to the menu to create new tracks. Number 7 is Command-L, which creates a loop depending on the region that is selected in the arrangement window, and then Command-L will also toggle that loop on and off. Number 8 is Shift-Command-L, which will select every single track in your project between the left and right borders of the loop. Number 9 is the one I'm going to get tattooed, Option-Command-F. This will create uniform fades on multiple audio tracks with one keystroke. Option-Command-F, you're my bro. And number 10 is the question mark. The question mark toggles the info view on and off, and I highly encourage you to leave the info view on all the time to just get a quick reminder of what's going on depending on what part of the interface you're using.
Am I still streaming?
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Head down to the description below and you can download my cheat sheet with these top 10 key commands. Also, let me know in the comments if there's a key command that didn't make it into my top 10 that you think is super helpful. Share that with us. If you're not yet a subscriber and you want to become one, you can click right here. And if you're interested in sound design, I recently created a video about future bass chords with a swung LFO using Serum that a lot of people have found really helpful. If you want to watch that one, you can click right here. All right, thanks so much. See you guys next time.